Welcome back. This video will provide an overview of the Documents module, often called Electronic Medical Records. The Documents section in HearForm Pro can be used a number of different ways. Let me show you this area to the far right. You may not see this area unless we display the area for you. That's because many screens are not wide enough to see that area, so we kind of hide that. Otherwise it might actually get in the way, but there's a couple of ways to see the documents that you've scanned or stored for each patient, either off to the side, or if you can't see that far over, then you can click this button right here called Documents, and that will pop up its own window. And this window, I'll explain it in just a minute, will display the contents of whatever's in that patient's folder. I'm going to open the folder right now and then go up one level and explain a little bit about the Documents area. You've heard of electronic medical records. Well, there's a lot of definitions for that term, but really what we do is we create a place to store your documents, and then we have a window that displays the contents of each patient's directory right on the home screen or in this pop-up area. As you can see now, I'm in Windows Explorer, and I can see that I'm on the C drive, but normally you may be on the J, S, or Z drive, whatever it is. And then we'll have a HearForm folder and documents within that folder. Within the Documents folder, HearForm can create one or more directories here with the patient's name on it. As you can see, last name, comma, first with no space, and then a dash, and then the patient unique identifier number called the key. I'm in Windows Explorer, so I can open this folder just like that and see that in this case there are subdirectories, 5 directories here. And I can place items directly into those folders by just right-clicking and pasting if I have something on my Windows clipboard, or I can drag and drop that. Let me give you an example here. I'm going to go down to Jennifer's folder here, and when I open that up, I see the contents of the folder, and it matches. Let's go ahead and close this part down here. It matches what I see right above it. So, in other words, what this window is again, it's just a view, a portal, a look into the contents of Windows Explorer, but this way you don't have to go find the folder. You can just easily drag and drop contents into the folder and see those contents and interact with them to a limited degree on the home screen. Now, it's easier to use Windows Explorer once you open the folder to be able to open something. For example, I've just opened that PDF right there. Let me close that, and I can open a separate one. Close that, and this makes it easier just to open it directly. Sometimes if you try to open it through the other window, depending upon your security settings, your security may not allow you to open it without a warning. So it's often easier just to open and interact with things this way. Now, for example, if I wanted to, you can't see what's off screen, but I can drag and drop something here called keyboard shortcuts in Windows. I can drop that right into the folder, and as you can see, that displays right here. Now I may be able to, let's open that up, I may be able to open that up right here, or I may not, depending upon the security settings within your computer. So again, I generally recommend that you just open Jennifer's folder, and then you can interact with the contents of it there. But it does make it very easy to see the contents of that folder right in HearForm itself. Now off to the side you can also see there's that file and several other files. If you place things in a subdirectory, for example, let's again open that folder, and let's say I put this document inside I'll just put it in the Audiograms folder, and I'll put this birthday one in my reports. Just that, even though that doesn't make sense necessarily, I just want to show you what's about to happen. So let's go ahead and scroll over to the side and see what's going on. I can list the directory by clicking this 4th button here, and when I do that, it's going to take and show me not only the names of the folders, which I can already see, and these documents that are outside of those folders, but any files that are, or documents that are inside the folders. So let's click the List Directory button. As you can see, now I can see some additional items here. So it's showing me the names of the folders, but also what's inside each of those folders. So here, the Audiograms folder, that's the name of the directory, and within that I see an audiometric report, and which was already in there. I didn't know that, but now I can see it, and there's that keyboard shortcuts that I placed in there. And in the other file, I can't remember where I put it, but I think it was maybe invoices or whatever. I've got a lot of different invoices, as you could see right there. Oh, there it is. Under reports, I put that birthday letter. So that's kind of an easy way to look at the contents of your subdirectories without actually having to go and say, now what's inside this one? And oh, there it is. So it just saves a step, so you don't have to go open that. So let's go back over to the side and click the Documents button again. And again, everything that I was just showing you is here. It's just a little bit slightly different format. So let's talk about when I go to add a new patient. I'm going to add a new patient here, and it's giving me a warning that it can't find the patient. Well, that's because there's no name yet. So I'm going to just type in very quickly, a little bit irritating there, but I'm going to say Mary Smith, and I'm going to then create a folder for her just by clicking that button, and I can create and open the folder if desired. And so now I see that folder that's created for Mary Smith. So it's relatively easy to create a folder for a patient, but it's important to know that you want that first name and last name to only have one word. So if Mary Smith is Mary Smith Jones, you don't want to have two words. You want to have a hyphenated. Notice now it doesn't recognize it. It's giving me a warning, but I can create a new folder with the Mary Smith Jones name, and now I actually have two separate names there, Mary Smith and Mary Smith Jones. I have a lot of Mary Smiths in here because I have no imagination. But that's how you would do that, and here's Mary Smith Jones. So make sure that if you have a two-part name, either Mary Jane Smith or Mary Smith Jones, that you put a hyphenation or an underscore or combine them. That would make it much easier for the system to be able to find that patient. So just keep that in mind. So once again, let's talk about some of those buttons. I'll click this button again here, and this will create the folder. This button will, if it doesn't exist already, this will create and open the folder, not just create it. It's okay if you click it again. It's not going to erase anything that's in there. So you can always click create and open even if you just want to open it. And then it says open Mary's folder, open Jennifer, whoever it is. Open the parent directory will go up one level. So it's showing now documents, and it's just showing all of the other patient folders that have been created. So it's basically going up one level. Let's open Mary's again, and I'll show you the other way to do that. Here's Mary's, but I can just always go back one level in Windows, and then I see Mary's folder highlighted. So open the parent directory just does that. Again, we've already talked about list the directory contents. There's nothing in Mary's folders now, just the folder names themselves, because I haven't created that. This is a refresh button, and depending upon your settings, that may or may not make a difference for you. We won't get into that too much now. This is the setup subdirectory names. We've seen that in our other video. This is just a little bit different way of doing it. You have 20 separate subdirectories that you can set up right from here if desired. And the red button here will create a folder and subdirectories for each patient in the found set. Now right now I only have 16 patients in my found set. You may want to find, for example, all active patients before clicking that red button. But if you do, it's going to create 16 folders and 16 subdirectories. The same is true with this button over here. So if you want it for your entire found set of records, you would just click Show All Patients. Then you can click the red button, and that will prompt you and say, do you want to create a folder for all 971 records in this case? I'll say no, I don't want to, but it takes a minute or two to create all of them, but that's a lot faster than creating them one at a time. Finally, we don't create folders automatically for you. You do need to click a button to create a folder, and the reason for that is we don't want to second guess and tell you which patient should have a folder and which one shouldn't. We think you're the best one to decide, so it's a little bit more of a bother for you to have to click the create folder button for each of those desired patients, but in the long run you have more control over the situation that way. So one other thing that I wanted to show you, let's go back to our sample patient here, Jennifer, is that directory area right now. Notice we have 1, 2, 3 files that are in there. When I create certain documents, I can archive them, and there's an archive button at the bottom, for example, of an invoice, and this little button right here for return or repair or insurance, etc. Let's use the sales one. When I click that button, it's going to, well, let's just do it. It creates a new document for Jennifer. We had 3 documents in there before. We should have 4 now. And if I'm in the estimate area even, let's say I create an estimate for the patient, I can individually archive that agreement right here, or I can convert it to an invoice from here and it will automatically archive it. Let's just do it with the button here. And once again, it says that was created. Let's go back home and see if that's true. I'll click the documents area here, and now instead of 3 files, we have more. We have 5 total. So one of these is the estimate that I just created on 1/5, and one of them is the invoice that I just created on this same date. So just be aware that this folder for the patient can be used to store any documents that you want to archive. One other quick example of that, let's see if I can find the right button here. A lot of buttons, but right here I'm going to archive the audiogram. So I'll click that button. Takes just a minute. It says it's been archived, and let's open that up and see. We can actually see it off to the side now. We have 6 separate files or documents there, and perhaps I can open this up. You can see a little bit of it there, and that just shows you that it's pretty simple to create an archive or a PDF and store it right in each desired patient's folder. So generally you're just going to scan a document with your scanner, maybe scan it to a particular folder, and then you'll often just open the folder, drag and drop it in there like I did before. I'll just drag this one in here, and now I have that file. Imagine that says Phonak repair form or anything like that. Now I have that in the patient's folder. Now I can also move that out of there. I've moved it back to my desktop. So it's really pretty simple to use the system. If you're using it in the cloud and with hosting with Amazon cloud servers, you can just copy a file just by right-clicking and copying the file, and then you would paste that file right in after opening the folder for your desired patient. So it's pretty simple to get it from your real desktop to your cloud desktop just by opening up the folder, pasting it in, and then that file is visible off to the right if in fact you have that area available, or it's also visible by popping it up right here. Hopefully that makes sense, and if you find that using documents would have value to your practice, I think you'll find it pretty easy to use. Thanks for watching.